You are lying there. The room is dark. Your body rests on the bed, heavy in the places where it meets the surface. The shoulders settle. The back finds its shape against what holds it. Outside, the night stretches long and quiet. No voices call, no lights move across the walls. Only the faint sound of wind, perhaps, brushing against the window, or the distant hum of nothing at all. Your breath comes and goes. It does not ask for your help. It rises in the chest, soft, then falls again. In, out. Still here. Feel the weight of your legs. They have carried you through another day. Now they rest. The feet, perhaps cool at the edges or warm beneath the covers. The arms lie where they have fallen, one hand open, the other curled. There is no need to fix anything, no need to make the mind quiet. It moves as it will, thoughts drifting like leaves on a slow river. Some thoughts stay longer, others pass before you can name them. This is the way of things. The night holds you. It does not judge the tightness in your shoulders or the ache that lives somewhere deep in the back. It simply covers everything. The hours ahead are empty of demands. You can stay here. You can let the body soften one small part at a time. The forehead, smooth now. The eyes, heavy behind the lids. The jaw, loose. Nothing to grip, nothing to hold on to. In this quiet, things show themselves more clearly. A memory may rise, a worry about tomorrow, a sadness that has no clear name. These things come, and for a time they feel solid, like stones in the hand. But even stones change. Wind and water wear them down. Time takes its share. You know this in your bones, even if the knowing is wordless. Everything passes, the good days and the hard ones, the strength in your limbs and the fatigue that follows, the people you love, the ones who have gone ahead. All of it moves through. Tonight, let yourself notice how this feels in the body. When a thought of loss arrives, where does it sit? Perhaps in the chest, a small pressure, or in the throat, tight and waiting. When joy from the past returns, does it bring warmth to the hands or a lightness behind the eyes? These feelings come, they stay for their time, then they shift. The breath keeps moving, patient with all of it. In, out. The darkness outside has no edges. It wraps around the trees, the roads, the sleeping houses. Inside, your home is a small boat on a wide sea. Safe enough. The pillow under your head remembers the shape of you. The blanket holds warmth close to the skin. There is nothing you must do now. No one needs your answers. The mind can wander, and you can watch it without chasing. Like sitting by a stream and seeing leaves float by. One leaf, then another. No need to reach in and stop them. Many nights, the mind fights this. It wants to hold on. It replays what was said, what was not said. It plans for what might come. But the body knows better. It grows tired. The limbs grow heavier. The heart beats its steady rhythm, not hurried. Everything that arrives will leave again. The night teaches this without speaking. It lets the stars turn overhead, slow and unseen. It lets the hours slip forward until morning touches the edge of the sky. You have carried much. Days of work, words spoken in haste, silences that lasted too long, joys that bloomed bright and faded, pains that seemed endless but grew softer with time. This is the human way: to hold and then to open the hands, to love and then to let go. In the quiet like this, the truth sits close. Nothing stays fixed. The breath that moves on its own reminds you. It has been doing this since before you had a name for it. It will continue after every thought has passed. Let the shoulders drop a little more. Let the belly soften with each exhale. There's room here for whatever arrives. Fear of change, perhaps, or a gentle sadness for how fast the years go. These too are part of the night. They do not need to be pushed away. Sit with them as an old friend might sit, without hurry. The friend does not fix you. He simply stays near, breathing the same air. Outside, a leaf may fall from a branch, or rain may begin soft against the roof, or nothing at all may happen. The world keeps its own pace. Your body knows how to rest inside it. The blood moves quietly. The skin feels the air. Everything passes through you, moment by moment. Thoughts, sensations, even the sense of being a self. All of it flows. In the deep hours, some people wake with a start. The mind brings up old wounds. The heart beats faster for a time. Then it slows again. The body remembers how to settle. You can do the same. Notice the contact between your back and the bed, the places of pressure, the places that float free. No part of you needs to be different right now. This is enough. The teaching of how things change lives in these small notices. Not as words on a page, but as the way your hand relaxes when you stop clenching it. As the way tears come and then dry on their own. As the way laughter from years ago can still echo softly before it fades. You have seen this in your own life. The child you once were is gone, yet something of that wonder remains. The strong days of youth have passed, yet here you are, still breathing. The night asks for nothing. It does not demand you understand everything. It simply holds the space while you lie here. The darkness is kind in its way. It hides the clock. It softens the edges of every worry. In this holding, you can let the breath do its work. In, out. The hands that finally opened. Still here, still breathing. Memories of other nights may come, nights when sleep would not arrive. Nights when grief pressed close like a weight on the chest. Even those nights passed. Morning came, with its own light and its own tasks. The pain did not vanish, but it changed shape. It became quieter or mixed with other things. This is how it goes. Change is not always gentle, but it is constant. Let your attention rest on the breath again. The cool air at the nostrils, the warmth as it leaves. Simple, reliable. The body does this without any story about it. No need for you to add one. Just notice. And when the mind pulls away, as it will, let it. It will return on its own or not.
Either way, the night continues. Far away, in places you will never see, rivers flow toward the sea. Clouds gather and release their rain. Flowers open and wilt under the same sun. All of it happening now, while you rest. Your own life is part of this vast movement.
The joys you have known, the losses you have carried, they fit inside this same truth. Everything passes. A faint sound may reach you, the creak of a house settling, or your own heartbeat in the ears. These are companions in the dark. They come, they stay a while, they move on. You can rest among them, the forehead smooth, the eyes heavy, the jaw loose. The night that asks for nothing. As the quiet deepens, a story begins to form, like mist rising from the ground at dawn. It is not forced, it simply arrives, carried on the slow breath. An old monk in a mountain monastery many years ago. The image comes softly, his robes worn at the edges, his face lined from long days and longer nights. He sits by a small window, looking out at the valley below. The first light has not yet touched the peaks. He waits, as you wait now. The story unfolds from there in its own time. The monk's hands rest in his lap. They have worked the garden, carried water, folded scrolls. Now they are still. He remembers the day he first came to this place, young and full of questions. The path was steep, his feet hurt, his mind raced ahead. But the mountain did not hurry. The trees stood patient. Years have passed since that day. The questions have changed. Some have fallen away like old leaves. Others remain, quieter now. He breathes the cold air. It fills his chest, then leaves. The breath that moves on its own. Outside, a single bird calls once, then silence again. The monk does not reach for meaning. He lets the sound come and go. In the monastery, the other monks sleep. Their dreams rise and fall like the valley mist. Everything in its time. The story settles here for now, near the edge of your awareness. You do not need to follow it closely. It will wait. The night holds it, as it holds you. The body grows heavier still. The limbs sink. The mind drifts between the room and the mountain, between now and then. All of it passing, moment by moment. The hands that finally opened, still here, still breathing. There is no rush to sleep, no measure of success in how still you become. This is simply the time for resting in what is. The night air on your skin, the faint rhythm of your heart, the knowledge, wordless and deep, that even this moment will change. Dawn will come, light will touch the walls, but for now, there is only this. The monk in the story remains by his window. His eyes are half closed. He feels the wood of the floor beneath him, cool and solid. The night in the mountains is vast. Stars wheel overhead, unseen by him. He does not grasp at them. He lets them turn. Everything passes. The story breathes with you. In, out. Your own breath continues its quiet work. The chest rises. The belly moves gently. No effort. The night that asks for nothing surrounds you completely. You are safe here, held in the slow turning of things. The weight of your body on the bed, the darkness that covers every trouble, the simple truth that lives in the bones. Nothing Everything stays the same. Let the shoulders settle once more. Let the thoughts float without chase. The first story waits, patient as the old monk himself. It will come when the time is right. For now, rest. The breath that moves on its own, still here, still breathing. In the high mountains of old China, where the mist clung to the pines each morning, there lived a monk named Liang. The monastery sat on a narrow ledge of stone, its wooden halls weathered by many seasons of rain and snow. Liang was no longer young. His hair had thinned to gray strands, and his hands showed the marks of years spent in the garden and at the prayer hall. A small scar ran across the back of one knuckle, from a time long ago when he had slipped on wet rocks while carrying water. Each dawn, Liang rose before the others. He stepped out onto the stone path that wound behind the main hall. The air was cold and sharp, carrying the scent of damp earth and needle leaves. His bare feet felt the roughness of the ground, the small pebbles that pressed into his soles. He moved slowly, his robes brushing against his legs with a soft whisper. In the distance, the valley lay hidden under layers of white mist. Only the tops of taller trees poked through, dark and still. Liang had come to this place as a boy of 14. His father had brought him after a fever took most of his family. The boy had walked the steep path with tears frozen on his cheeks. Now, decades later, he knew every turn of that path. He knew where the wild herbs grew in spring and where the ice gathered thick in winter. He knew the sound the wind made when it moved through the narrow pass below the monastery. It was a low moan, like an old man remembering. This morning, as on many others, Liang sat on a flat rock near the edge. The stone was cold against his thighs. He drew his legs into the familiar crossed position. His hands rested one upon the other in his lap. The breath came slow, in through the nose, filling the chest, then out again. The mountains did not hurry him. The sun was only a pale hint behind the eastern peaks. Light would come, but not yet. He thought of the garden he tended. The vegetables grew in neat rows, but weeds always returned. He pulled them each week, yet they came back. The soil itself shifted with the rains. Nothing stayed as he left it. A small smile touched his lips at the thought. He had learned to expect this. Still, each morning he walked the rows, his fingers brushing the leaves of the cabbages, feeling their crisp edges. Down in the kitchen hall, the younger monks would soon begin their tasks. They moved with more energy than he did now. Their voices carried sometimes on the wind, laughing at small things or arguing over who would sweep the courtyard. Liang did not join them often. He preferred the quiet of the upper paths. There, the only sounds were his own footsteps and the occasional call of a bird. Today, something felt different in his body. A tightness had settled in his lower back, a reminder of the years. He shifted on the rock, but the discomfort stayed. He did not fight it. Instead, he noticed how the cold from the stone traveled up through his legs. The hands that finally opened, he let them rest. The breath that moved on its own continued its work. As the light grew, colors returned to the world. The gray of the rocks took on hints of brown and silver. The pine needles showed their deep green. Liang watched a single cloud drift across the sky. It changed shape as he looked, stretching thin, then breaking apart. Nothing held its form for long. He had seen this thousands of times, yet each morning it felt new. He stood after a time. His knees protested with small cracks. He walked the path that led higher toward a cluster of ancient trees. The ground here was softer, covered in fallen needles that cushioned his steps. The smell grew stronger,
resinous and sweet. He passed a small shrine carved into the rock face. Someone had left offerings of rice and a faded flower. The flower was wilted now, its petals curled and brown at the edges. Liang paused there. He remembered the monk who had carved the shrine many years before. That man had been old even then, his hands shaking as he worked the stone.
Now that monk was gone, his body returned to the earth somewhere down the mountain. Liang placed his own hand on the cool rock. The carving was smooth in places from wind and rain. Everything changes, he thought without words. Further on, the path opened to a small clearing. A single gnarled pine stood at its center, its trunk twisted like an old man's spine. Branches reached out in uneven directions. Liang had sat beneath this tree since his first year at the monastery. He lowered himself to the ground now, back against the rough bark. The texture pressed into his robes and skin. It was familiar, comforting in its hardness. From here, he could see the full sweep of the valley when the mist lifted. Villages lay scattered below, small clusters of roofs and smoke from morning fires. People there lived their lives, planting rice, raising children, worrying over the harvest. Liang had come from such a village. He remembered the feel of mud between his toes in the fields, the way his mother's hands smelled of garlic and soap. Those things were gone now. The village had changed. His mother had passed quietly in her sleep one winter. He closed his eyes. The sounds of the mountain filled the space. A distant stream rushed over rocks. Wind moved through the higher branches with a sighing sound. His own breath joined them. In, out. The tightness in his back eased a little as he sat, or perhaps he simply noticed it less. The body had its own way of settling. Hours passed in this way. The sun climbed higher. Warmth reached the clearing, touching his face and hands. Liang did not move to seek shade. He let the heat come. Sweat formed lightly on his brow. He wiped it away with the sleeve of his robe. The fabric was thin and patched in places. It had been new once, given to him by the abbot long ago. Now it was soft from many washings. A younger monk named Chen appeared on the path below. Chen carried a wooden bucket. Water sloshed over the edges as he walked. His steps were quick, eager. He stopped when he saw Liang and bowed slightly. "Master, the abbot asks if you will join the midday meal today." Liang looked at the young face. Smooth skin, bright eyes. Chen had only been at the monastery for 2 seasons. He still carried the restlessness of the world below. "I will come," Liang said simply. His voice was low and rough from disuse. Chen nodded and continued on his way. The bucket bumped against his leg. Liang watched him go. The boy reminded him of himself at that age, full of questions that burned like fire. Questions about why suffering existed, why people died, why nothing seemed to last. He had asked the old teachers many times. Their answers had been short. Sit, breathe, watch. Liang rose again. His legs felt stiff. He walked back down the path, slower now that the sun was full. The stones were warmer underfoot. Insects buzzed in the low bushes. One landed on his arm, its legs tickling the skin. He did not brush it away. It stayed for a moment, then flew off. Small things coming and going. In the garden, he stopped to check the plants. The cabbages had grown larger since yesterday. Leaves spread wide, catching the light. But some edges showed brown spots. A few stems had been nibbled by creatures in the night. He knelt and pulled a few weeds, their roots coming up with soft earth clinging to them. The soil was cool and dark between his fingers. He worked without hurry. The sun moved across the sky as he did this.
Time passed. When he finished, his hands were dirty. He wiped them on his robe. The dirt would wash away later. Everything did. He made his way to the kitchen hall. The smell of rice and boiled vegetables met him at the door.
The other monks were already seated on low benches, bowls steamed in front of them. Liang took his place at the end of one row. He ate slowly, tasting each bite. The rice was warm and plain. The vegetables carried the flavor of the garden. After the meal, the monks dispersed to their tasks. Liang returned to the upper path. The afternoon light slanted through the trees. Shadows stretched long. He felt the change in the air as the day aged. Cooler now. The tightness in his back had returned, deeper this time. He sat again by the twisted pine. The bark felt the same against his back, yet he knew that even this tree was changing, growing slower now, perhaps beginning its long decline. A bird landed on a branch above him. It sang a few notes, clear and high, then flew away. The sound lingered in his ears for a moment before fading. Liang thought of the abbot, who was older than him. The abbot's eyes had grown cloudy. His steps were careful on the stone floors. One day, the abbot too would pass. The monastery would continue without him. New monks would come, old ones would leave. The buildings would need repair. The garden would need tending. This knowledge did not bring sadness to Liang today. It simply was, like the mist that came and went, like the seasons that turned without asking permission. He had seen many monks arrive and depart over the years. Some left to return to their families. Others grew ill and died quietly in their small rooms. Each time, the community felt the absence for a while. Then life flowed around it, like water around a stone in the stream. The sun began its descent. Colors deepened in the sky. Orange and soft purple touched the peaks. Liang remained seated. His body had grown heavy with the day. The legs tingled from sitting so long. His mind had wandered many times, thinking of the past, of the garden, of the young monk Chen. Each thought came like a visitor, stayed, then left. He noticed how the light changed the color of his own hands resting in his lap. The veins stood out more clearly now, the skin thinner. These hands had held many things, tools, scrolls, the hands of dying brothers. They would one day hold nothing at all. The thought passed through him gently. No fear rose to meet it, only the quiet acceptance that had grown over the years. Night approached slowly. The air grew chill. Insects quieted. The stream sounded louder in the gathering dark. Liang stood one final time. His joints ached. He walked the path back toward the monastery halls. Lanterns glowed softly in the windows. The other monks moved inside, preparing for evening chanting. Their shadows crossed the paper screens. Liang entered the hall and took his seat on the floor. The wood was smooth from years of use. He arranged his robes. The chanting began, low voices rising and falling together. The sound filled the space like smoke. He joined in, his voice blending with the others. The words were old, familiar. They spoke of things that come and go. But Liang did not think about the meaning now. He simply let the sound move through him. After the chanting, the monks retired to their rooms. Liang lay on his simple mat. The room was small and bare. A single candle burned low. Outside, the night had fully arrived. Stars appeared in the clear mountain sky. He could not see them from his room, but he knew they were there. The breath that moved on its own continued in the dark. His body settled against the thin bedding. The day had passed, as all days do. Yet something in him felt unsettled this night.
A question lingered, not in words, but in a feeling. The monastery had stood for centuries,
but even stones wear down. Even the mountain changed its shape over long ages. What would remain when his own time here ended? The garden he tended would grow wild for a season, then be cared for by new hands. The paths would be walked by different feet. He turned on his side. The mat creaked softly. Sleep did not come quickly. Thoughts of change moved through his mind like clouds. The young monk Chen would grow old here too if he stayed. Or he might leave one day, carrying what he had learned back to the world below. Either way, things would not stay as they were. This was the simple truth that had followed Liang for all his years. The candle flickered and went out. Darkness filled the room completely. Liang lay still. The night held the monastery in its grasp. The mountains stood silent around it. Everything in its time. The central situation had settled around him now, clear as the mountain air. He was here, in this place of change, breathing with it all, waiting to see what the next day would bring, knowing that it too would pass. Still here, still breathing. The night that asks for nothing. The next days passed in their usual rhythm for Liang. He rose early again, walked the same paths, tended the garden where new shoots pushed through the soil and older leaves yellowed at the tips. The tightness in his back stayed with him, a constant companion that sharpened when he bent to pull weeds or carried the water bucket up the steeper sections of the path. He felt it in his bones now, a dull ache that spread sometimes to his hips. He did not complain. He simply moved more carefully, pausing often to let the breath settle the discomfort. One afternoon, rain began to fall. It started soft, tapping on the pine needles, then grew steady. Water ran in small streams down the stone paths. Liang stood under the eaves of the main hall and watched. The courtyard turned dark with moisture. Puddles formed in the low places. The younger monks hurried between buildings, their robes pulled tight. Chen slipped once on the wet stones, catching himself with a laugh that echoed briefly before the rain swallowed it. Liang remained still. The cool dampness reached his face. Droplets gathered on his eyebrows and fell. He felt the fabric of his robe grow heavier against his skin. The scent of wet earth rose strong from the garden. Everything smelled alive and decaying at once. He thought of the seeds planted weeks ago. Some would sprout, others would wash away in this downpour. There was no way to know until the rain stopped. Inside the hall, the monks gathered for chanting. The sound of their voices mixed with the rain on the roof tiles. Liang joined them, sitting on the worn wooden floor. The chill from the ground seeped into his legs. His knees protested. He adjusted his position slightly, feeling the pull in his lower back. The chanting continued, steady and low. Words about change and flow passed through the air, but Liang focused on the feeling in his body. The way his chest expanded with each breath, the way the rain found its way under the edges of the roof in tiny leaks. After the chanting, the rain continued into the evening. Liang returned to his small room. The mat felt damp. He lay down and listened to the water falling. It drummed without pause. His mind wandered to the villages below. The fields would be flooded in places. Farmers would worry about their crops. Some would lose everything this season. Others would see their soil enriched. Change came to them too, in ways they could not control. Sleep came uneven that night. The ache in his back kept him turning. Each movement sent small pains through his limbs. He rose once to drink from the water bowl. The liquid was cold on his tongue. Back on the mat, He placed a folded cloth under his lower back for support. It helped a little. The rain slowed toward morning, but did not stop completely. A steady drip sounded from somewhere outside his window. When light finally touched the room, Liang went to the garden. Mud clung to his feet. The cabbages stood bent under the weight of water. Some leaves had torn. He worked carefully, propping them up with small sticks. His hands grew muddy and cold. The ache deepened as he crouched. He straightened often, feeling the stretch in his spine. The breath that moved on its own helped him continue. In, out, slow. Chen appeared again, carrying tools. The young monk's face showed worry. "The path to the lower spring is blocked by fallen branches," he said. "The abbot asks for help clearing it." Liang nodded. They walked together down the slippery trail. The ground gave under their feet. Leaves and small stones slid away. Liang felt his balance shift several times. His knees took the strain. The scar on his knuckle throbbed faintly in the damp. They reached the blockage. Thick branches lay across the path, wet and heavy. Water rushed around them. They lifted together. Liang's back protested sharply. He gritted his teeth, but made no sound. The wood was slick. Splinters pressed into his palms. They moved one branch, then another. Chen worked with quick strength. Liang moved slower, conserving his energy. By the time the path was clear, sweat mixed with rain on his face. His robe clung to his body. The ache had spread to his shoulders. They rested on a rock beside the spring. Water bubbled clear from the ground. Liang cupped his hands and drank. It tasted of stone and mountain. Chen sat quietly for a time, then spoke. "Master, does the rain always come this hard?" Liang looked at the stream. "It comes as it comes, some years more, some less." He did not say more. They sat listening to the water. The young monk's hands were raw from the work. Liang noticed small cuts. His own hands felt stiff. The days that followed brought more rain. The monastery routines continued, but everything felt heavier. The garden struggled. Some plants drowned, others held on. Liang spent long hours there, his body bent, the ache constant now. At night, he lay awake longer. Thoughts of his own passing came unbidden. He had seen brothers grow frail. Their steps slowed, their hands trembled. One day, they simply did not rise. He visited the abbot one evening. The old man sat in his room, a lantern casting warm light on the walls. The abbot's face was deeply lined. His eyes seemed distant. "The rain tests the roots," the abbot said quietly. Liang bowed his head. They sat in silence for a long while. The rain tapped on the roof. Liang felt the shared quiet in his chest. No need for many words. Back in his room, Liang sat by the small window. The night was black beyond the glass. He could hear the wind now pushing the rain sideways. His body felt tired in a new way. Not just the back, but a deeper weariness. The uncertainty sat with him. How much longer could he tend the garden? How many more paths could he walk? The monastery had been his home for so long, yet even this place would not last forever. Stones would crack, roofs would need replacing, monks would come and go. He touched the scar on his hand. It had come from a fall on these very mountains. That day, he had been carrying water like Chen. The bucket had tipped. He had slid down a wet slope. Pain had fled then, sharp and immediate. Now the pain was quieter, but always present. Everything changed, even the way the body held its memories. The next morning, the rain eased. Mist hung thick in the valley.
Liang walked the upper path again. His steps were slower. Each footfall sent a small jolt through his back. The twisted pine waited in the clearing. He sat against it. The bark felt rougher today, or perhaps his skin was more sensitive. The air was cool and moist. Birds called sparingly. A single drop fell from a branch above, landing on his shoulder. He stayed there through the morning. Hunger came and went. He did not rise to eat. The sun tried to break through the clouds, casting pale light that shifted and faded. Liang watched the mist move. It swirled around the trees below, hiding and revealing. His mind turned to the villages again. Lives there passed through floods and droughts. Children born, elders buried. The same rhythm. A quiet searching filled him, not for answers, but for a way to sit with the ache. He breathed into the discomfort, the breath that moved on its own. It did not remove the pain, but it made space around it. His hands rested open on his knees. The fingers relaxed. Still here. Chen found him later. The young monk brought a small bowl of rice. The abbot thought you might need this. Liang took the bowl. The rice was warm in his hands. He ate slowly, tasting each grain. Chen sat nearby, silent at first. Then he asked, "Master, when the rain destroys the garden, what do you do?" Liang looked at the bowl. "We plant again." The words came simple. They sat together as the mist thinned. The sun grew stronger. Warmth touched Liang's face. The ache eased slightly in the light. But he knew it would return with the next movement. In the following weeks, the weather cleared. The garden recovered in patches. Some plants thrived, others did not.
Liang worked the soil, turning it with a small hoe. His back limited how much he could do. He rested more often, sitting on the low wall that bordered the rows. From there, he watched the younger monks. Their energy reminded him of spring water rushing fast. His own pace was like the deep river in the valley, slower but steady. One day, a message came from the village below. An old friend from his childhood had fallen ill. The friend asked to see him. Liang prepared to make the journey. He packed a small bundle. His body felt the weight of the years as he started down the mountain path. The trail was familiar but steeper in his memory. Each step tested his balance. The ache flared with the descent. His knees burned, sweat came despite the cool air. The path wound through forests and rocky sections. He stopped often, leaning against trees. The bark was rough under his hand. Birds flitted overhead. The scent of wild flowers mixed with damp soil. Time stretched. The sun moved across the sky as he walked. By midday, he had covered only half the distance. His legs trembled slightly. The breath that moved on its own kept him going. He reached the village as evening approached. Houses clustered near the river. Smoke rose from cooking fires. People moved quietly, carrying water or bundles. His friend's house was small, the roof thatched. Inside, the air was warm and close. The old friend lay on a mat, his face thin and pale. They spoke little. Liang sat beside him. The friend's hand was frail in his own. They breathed together in the dim light. Outside, night fell. The river sounded steady in the distance. The yang stayed through the night. The friend's breathing grew labored at times. Then it steadied. Liang felt the uncertainty deep in his own chest. The ache in his back was forgotten for moments, replaced by this shared vigil. The friend whispered once, "Everything changes." Liang nodded in the dark. No more words were needed. Dawn came. The friend slept. Liang stepped outside. The village stirred. Children ran along the paths. An old woman swept her doorway. Life continued around the illness. Liang felt the heart of it all here. The body tired, the mind searched, the world moved on its own. He was fully inside this now, the mountain and the village, the ache and the waiting, the knowing that nothing stayed fixed. The night that asks for nothing held the valley too, still here, still breathing. Liang stayed 3 more days in the village. The friend's house held the quiet of waiting. Each morning he helped with small tasks, fetching water from the river, boiling herbs for tea. His back ached with the bending, but the pain felt distant, mixed with the rhythm of the days. The friend grew weaker. His words came less often. When he spoke, it was of simple things. The taste of the tea, the sound of children playing outside. Liang sat beside the mat, his hand resting near the friend's. The skin was cool and thin. The breath in the room moved slow, sometimes pausing long enough to notice. On the 3rd evening, the friend opened his eyes. The lantern light was low. "Old friend," he said, his voice a whisper. "It is time." Liang nodded once. No tears came. They sat together as the night deepened. The river outside flowed steady. Insects sang in the grass. The friend's breathing grew softer, then quieter still. It stopped in its own time, like a leaf settling on the ground after a long fall. Liang stayed until the body cooled. He closed the eyes gently. The hands that finally opened rested beside the still form. The villagers came in the morning. They prepared the body with quiet hands. Liang helped where he could. The ache in his own back was there, but it did not rule him. He felt the weight of years in his legs as they carried the simple wooden platform. The path to the burial ground was short. The earth was soft from recent rains. They lowered the body. Soil fell in small sounds. No long speeches, a few words of thanks. The sky above was clear, blue stretching wide. Liang stood until the others left. He placed a small stone on the mound. It fit his palm perfectly for a moment, then stayed behind. He began the walk back up the mountain that same afternoon. The path climbed. His steps were measured. Each breath matched the effort. The forest closed around him. Leaves rustled underfoot. Birds called from hidden places. The sun warmed his shoulders, then slipped behind clouds. The scar on his hand caught on a branch once. A small drop of blood appeared, then dried. Everything passed through the body this way. Pain, effort, rest. Higher up, the air cooled. Mist gathered again. Liang stopped at the twisted pine. He sat against the bark. The roughness pressed familiar. His legs stretched out, the ache settled deep. He closed his eyes. The monastery waited above. The garden would need tending. The younger monks would ask questions with their eyes. He let the mountain hold him. The breath that moved on its own came steady. In the quiet, the friend's face appeared in memory, then faded. The stone on the grave, the river sound, all of it moving on. When he reached the monastery gates, evening had come. Lanterns glowed soft. Chen met him at the path. The young monk's face showed relief. "Master, you returned!" Liang nodded. They walked together to the hall. The evening chanting began soon after. Voices rose and fell. Liang sat among them. His body felt the floor, the air, the shared sound. After, he went to his room. The mat waited. He lay down. Sleep came easier that night. The mountain night wrapped around the halls. Stars turned overhead. Nothing stayed. Not the friend, not the pain, not even the feeling of loss. It softened as the hours passed. In the days that followed, Liang returned to the garden. The plants had grown in his absence. Some leaves had withered, others spread wide. He pulled the dead ones gently. The soil clung to his fingers. The sun touched his back. The ache remained, but it had changed shape. It was part of him now, like the scar. He worked until the light faded. Then he sat on the low wall. The valley below lay quiet. Roofs sent up thin smoke. Lives continued there, births and endings. The mist rose and fell. One morning, weeks later, Liang woke to frost on the ground. Winter approached. The air bit at his skin. He walked the upper path. The twisted pine stood bare in places. Its needles had thinned. He touched the trunk. The bark felt harder in the cold. He sat beneath it for a long time. The breath came visible in small clouds. His hands rested in his lap. The monastery bell sounded far below. Monks moved through their tasks. Chen swept the courtyard, his broom making steady strokes. Liang stayed until the sun climbed. Warmth touched the clearing. He rose slowly. His joints protested. He walked back. In the garden, he covered the last plants with straw. The work was careful, each bundle placed with attention. The day passed. Evening came with longer shadows. He ate the plain meal with the others. The rice was warm, the voices around him quiet. After, he returned to the pine once more. The night air was sharp. Stars filled the sky. He sat until his body grew numb with cold. Then he went inside. The seasons turned. Spring came again. New growth pushed through the soil. Liang tended it all. His steps had slowed more. The younger monks helped without being asked. Chen stayed close often. They spoke little. One afternoon, under the pine, Chen asked a question. "Master, when my time comes, will it be like this?" Liang looked at the tree. "It will be as it is." They sat in the shared silence. The wind moved the branches. Leaves fell softly. One landed on Liang's robe. He left it there. Years passed in this way. The abbot grew frailer. One day, he did not rise. The community gathered. Liang sat near the end. The old man's breath slowed like the friends had. Then it stopped. The monastery continued. New monks arrived. Paths were repaired. The garden yielded its harvest. Liang's back ached daily now. His hands trembled sometimes when he held the bowl. He still walked to the pine. The tree had lost more branches, yet it stood. One clear morning, Liang went to the flat rock where he had sat as a younger man. The valley spread below. Mist lifted slow. He crossed his legs, hands in lap, the breath that moved on its own. The sun rose, light touched his face, warmth spread. He stayed as the day grew. Monks passed on the path. They bowed quietly. He did not move. The ache filled his body completely. Then it too began to ease. His eyes closed. The world softened. The mountain held him. The night that asks for nothing came gently, even in daylight. Liang's breath slowed. It paused. It did not begin again. The pine stood, the garden waited for new hands. Everything passed. The story rests now. The image of the old monk under the tree stays with you, quiet as the mountain air. You may feel something loosen in your own chest as you lie there. The weight of your body on the bed, the breath that moves on its own. Perhaps you know this feeling, the way a memory of someone gone returns soft at night. It sits in the body, a small pressure behind the ribs or a tightness in the throat. Then, without effort, it shifts. The hands that finally opened. You do not need to push it away. It leaves in its own time. You are here now, in this room, the night covering you, your legs heavy, your shoulders settled. The day you carried, with its small losses and its ordinary tasks, it is past too. Like Liang walking the path back from the village, each step tested him, yet he arrived. You have walked your own paths, days that felt too long, nights when sleep stayed away, worries about the body, about those you love, about what comes next. They press close sometimes. The chest tightens, the jaw holds. But notice now, the breath continues. It does not wait for understanding. In, out. Perhaps tonight a sadness lingers from something that changed, a home that is no longer the same, a strength that is faded, a person whose voice you no longer hear. These things live in the body as sensations, a warmth that cools, a holding that softens. You can let them be here. The night holds them without effort. It asks for nothing. Your hands rest where they are, open or curled. No need to fix the feeling. It moves through like mist in the valley. In your life, change has come many times. The child who ran freely now rests in bed as an adult. The work that filled the days has shifted. Friends have moved on. The body itself changes. Hair grays, joints speak louder. Yet here you are, still breathing, still able to notice the pillow under your head, the blanket's weight, the quiet in the room. This is the same truth the monk knew on the mountain. Nothing stays fixed. The good moments bloom and fade. The hard ones press and then ease. All of it passes. You may feel fear sometimes when this truth touches you. A small chill in the belly, a racing in the mind. That too is part of the night. Let it come. Let it stay as long as it needs. The breath keeps its pace. Your legs sink deeper into the bed. The forehead smooths. The eyes rest heavy. There is safety in this acceptance. No fight needed. The night that asks for nothing surrounds you completely. Think of the garden Liang tended. Plants grew and withered. He worked with what was there. You tend your own days in the same way. Small tasks, moments of rest, words spoken or held back. Each one arrives, stays, leaves. The worry you carry about tomorrow, it will change by morning. The grief that visits at midnight, it will soften with the light. You have seen this before. You know it in your bones, even if the mind forgets. The story of the monk dissolves slowly now. The pine tree stands empty in memory. The valley lies quiet. You are back in your room. The body lies still. Feel the contact with the bed, the places that press down, the places that float. Nothing to do, no one to become. Everything passes through this moment. The hands that finally opened. Still here, still breathing. A quiet question hangs in the air. What small thing in your life is ready to change tonight, even if you do not touch it? The question needs no answer. It simply rests with you as the next part of the night unfolds. The breath that moves on its own, the night that asks for nothing. You lie there in the dark. The body rests heavy on the bed. The night holds you without demand. Feel the breath as it comes. It rises in the chest. It falls again.
Nothing you do makes it happen. This is the first simple truth. Everything passes through this breath. Thoughts arrive, they stay a moment, they leave. Sensations in the legs, a warmth or a coolness, they too move on. You do not need to chase them or hold them back. The night teaches this gently. It lets everything be. In your ordinary days, change shows itself everywhere. The food you eat turns to energy and then to waste.
The clothes you wear grow thin with use. The house you live in settles a little more each year. These things happen without your notice most times. Yet at night, when the world grows quiet, you can see them clearer. The mind brings up what has gone, a face you once saw every day, a strength that filled your arms, a plan that no longer fits. Each one comes like a visitor to the door. You can let it in. You can sit with it. Then it leaves on its own. When you resist this, the body tightens. The shoulders rise toward the ears. The jaw clenches without you meaning it to. The belly holds a small knot. This resistance is natural. You have done it many times. It feels like gripping a handful of sand. The harder you squeeze, the more slips away. The breath becomes shorter. The mind races to fix what cannot be fixed. But if you notice this tightness, you can let one small part soften. The forehead, the hands, the breath that moves on its own. Space appears around the feeling. The knot loosens a little. Not because you forced it, because you stopped fighting. This is how it looks in a human life. You wake one morning and the face in the mirror shows new lines. Hair has changed. The eyes carry a tiredness that was not there before. At first, the mind protests. It wants the old image back. It compares today with yesterday. But the body knows it has already moved forward. The food tastes different. The steps on the floor feel different. Everything has shifted overnight. You cannot step into the same day twice. This truth lives in the small moments. The cup you set down warms the table, then cools again. The light through the window moves across the room and disappears. At night like this, the feeling of change can sit close in the chest, a pressure that comes with thoughts of loss. Someone you loved no longer sits at the table. A place you knew well has been altered. The mind turns it over. It tries to keep the old shape alive. The body responds with heaviness. The legs want to curl. The back presses harder into the bed. Yet the breath continues. It does not stop for your sorrow. It rises and falls. Each time it leaves, it takes a small piece of the holding with it. You do not need to understand why. You only need to stay here and notice. What happens when you stop resisting? The shoulders drop by themselves. The hands lie open. A warmth spreads through the belly. The mind grows quieter, not empty, but less noisy. Images from the day float past. A conversation, a task unfinished. They come, they go. You watch like someone sitting by a river. Leaves drift on the current. You do not reach in to grab them. The river carries them away. This is the way things are. The night shows you. It lets the hours pass without hurry. Dawn will come. The light will change the room. But for now, there is only this darkness and this breath. You have known times when everything felt permanent. The work that filled your hours seemed it would always be there. The people around you seemed fixed in their places. Then one day, a door closed. An illness arrived. A move happened. The ground shifted under your feet. The body reacted with fear at first. The heart beat faster. Sleep left you. But over time, even that fear changed. It became softer, mixed with other feelings. You kept living. The breath kept moving on its own. This happened before. It will happen again. The pattern is the same. In the quiet, you can feel how the body carries the years. The places that once moved easily now speak with small pains. The skin that was smooth now shows the marks of time. These changes are not enemies. They are the marks of having lived. Like the lines on an old wooden table from many meals shared. The table still holds the plates. Your body still holds you. It carries you through this night. It asks only for rest. No need to make it different. The night accepts it as it is. The hands that finally opened. The night that asks for nothing. Let your attention rest on the breath again. The air at the nostrils, cool as it enters, warmer as it leaves, simple and steady. When a strong feeling rises, perhaps a sadness for what has passed, let it be there. Notice where it lives, in the throat, in the space behind the eyes. It may feel solid for a time, then it shifts. The breath continues underneath it. This is the teaching in its plainest form. Nothing stays the same. Not the feeling, not the body, not even the sense of the one who feels it. All of it flows. You may worry that accepting this means giving up. It does not. You still rise in the morning. You still do the tasks that need doing, but you do them with less fighting inside. The work of the day comes and goes. The rest at night comes and goes. The people you meet touch your life for their time and then move on. You can love them fully while they are near. You can let them go when the time arrives. The heart learns this slowly. It opens and closes like the chest with each breath. No final closing, no permanent opening, just the natural movement. Think of the rain that falls on the roof tonight. It lands, it runs down, it joins the ground. It does not stay on the roof forever. If it did, the roof would rot. The water must pass for new days to come. Your own life is like this. The joys you hold must make room for what comes next. The pains must pass so new space appears. You have seen this in small ways. A meal that satisfied you leaves hunger again later. A good sleep ends with waking. Each ending makes the next beginning possible. The night reminds you of this rhythm. It lets the dark stay until the light is ready. When the mind grows busy with questions about what will happen, bring it back to the body. The weight of the legs, the contact of the back with the bed, the jaw that can loosen. These things are here now. They are enough. The future is not here. The past has already moved on. Only this moment remains. And even this moment passes while you notice it. The breath that moves on its own shows the way. It has never stayed still. It never will. In ordinary hours, you see impermanence in the faces around you. Children grow taller. Their voices change. Elders move slower. Their stories grow shorter. You yourself stand between them, changing too. This can bring a gentle sadness, a recognition that time takes its share. But it also brings a kind of freedom. You do not need to hold everything perfectly. You can love what is here. You can care for what needs care. Then you can rest when the day ends. The night receives it all. It does not sort the good from the hard. It covers everything equally. Stay with the breath. Let the thoughts come like clouds in the sky. Some clouds are dark, some are light. They all drift across and disappear at the edge. Your attention can rest in the sky itself, the open space that holds them. This space is in you too, behind the feelings, behind the stories. It does not change even while everything else does. You touch it most clearly at night, when the body lies still and the world grows quiet. It is not far away. It is here, in the pause between breaths, in the softness that comes when you stop gripping. The body knows how to let go. Watch it as you lie here. The shoulders settle deeper. The belly rises and falls without effort. The feet grow heavy at the ends of the legs. Each part does its work and then rests. You can follow this example. Let one worry pass. Let one memory fade. They will return if they need to, or they will not. Either way, the night continues. The breath continues. You're safe inside this flow. Nothing is lost forever. Nothing is held forever. All of it passes in its time. You have carried many things through your years. Joys that filled the heart, sorrows that bent the back, plans that shaped the days. Each one had its season. Each one made room for the next. This is not a loss. It is the way the world moves. The tree drops its leaves so new ones can grow. The river carries the old water to the sea and receives fresh rain. Your life follows the same pattern. The night shows it without words. It simply lets the hours slip by while you rest. When resistance returns, as it will, notice it with kindness. The tightness in the chest, the mind that wants certainty. These are old habits. They do not need harsh words. They need patience. The same patience the night gives you. It does not rush the dawn. It lets the dark do its work. You can do the same for yourself. Let the feeling be there. Breathe with it. The hands that finally opened. The breath that moves on its own. Space grows around the resistance. It softens. It passes. This teaching lives in the smallest details. The way a cup of tea cools in your hands. The way a conversation ends and silence arrives. The way sleep takes you and then releases you back to morning. Each detail points to the same truth. Everything passes. You do not need to remember this every moment. The body remembers for you. It changes, it rests, it continues. Tonight, as you lie here, it does its quiet work. The night holds the space. You can rest inside it. The mind may wander far. Let it. It will return. Or it will not. The breath stays close. The body stays here. This is enough for now. No great understanding is required. Only this willingness to lie still and let things be. The night asks for nothing more. It gives its darkness freely. It lets the breath do what it does. In, out, slow, steady. The simple sentence you can carry forward is this: everything passes, and you are still here. Along the rocky coast of old Japan, where the sea met the land in constant conversation, there lived a fisherman named Haru. His village nestled in a small bay, protected by high cliffs on one side and open to the wide ocean on the other. Wooden houses stood on stilts above the tide line. The air always carried salt and the smell of drying fish. Nets hung from poles like spiderwebs, heavy with dew. Haru was past 50 now. His skin had been burned dark by years under the sun. His hands were thick with calluses, the fingers bent from pulling ropes and oars. A small tattoo of a wave marked his left wrist, done long ago when he was young and full of fire. Each morning before first light, Haru pushed his small boat into the water. The wood of the hull scraped against the pebbles on the shore. Cold waves lapped at his bare legs. The boat rocked gently as he climbed in. He picked up the oars. His shoulders moved in the old rhythm. The sea stretched dark and endless ahead. Stars still shone overhead, faint now as the sky lightened in the east. The smell of the water filled his nose, sharp and alive. Gulls cried overhead, their wings cutting the air. Haru had fished these waters since he was a boy. His father had taught him the currents, the places where the fish gathered, the signs of coming storms. Now his own son sometimes joined him, but more often Haru went alone. He liked the quiet, the way the boat moved with the swells, the pull of the oars in his hands. His back had begun to stiffen in recent months. A deep ache settled there after long hours on the water. He noticed it each time he leaned forward, yet he kept rowing. The breath that moved on its own kept time with the strokes. The boat slipped past the headland. The village sounds faded. Only the sea remained. Haru dropped his net over the side. The ropes felt rough and familiar. He let it sink, watching the floats bob on the surface. And he sat and waited. The sun rose slow, painting the water orange and gold. Warmth touched his face. The boat rocked softly. Small waves slapped the hull. He felt the motion in his hips and legs. The ache in his back eased a little in the gentle movement. Or perhaps he simply forgot it for a time. Hours passed. He pulled the net once. Fish glistened inside, silver and blue. He sorted them with quick hands. Some went into baskets, others he threw back. The sea gave and took. He knew this well. The fish that swam today would be gone tomorrow. New ones would come. The water never stayed still. Tides rose and fell. Waves crashed and smoothed. Haru wiped sweat from his brow. His sleeve was rough against his skin. Salt crusted on his arms. By midday, the sun stood high. Heat pressed down. The boat drifted near a small, rocky island. Birds nested on the cliffs. Their calls echoed sharp. Haru ate a simple meal of rice wrapped in seaweed. The taste was plain and salty. He drank from a small jug. The water was warm now. He lay back for a short rest. The wood of the boat pressed into his back. The ache returned, deeper. He breathed through it. The hands that finally opened rested on his belly. The sky above was clear blue, empty of clouds. Everything moved below it. In the afternoon, he rowed further out. The water changed color, darker now. He knew the deep spots where larger fish sometimes hid. The oars pulled harder. His shoulders burned. The village was a small line on the horizon. Smoke rose from the houses. Women mended nets on the shore. Children played in the shallow water. Haru thought of his wife, waiting with the evening meal. She moved slower these days. Her hands trembled when she tied the ropes. Their life together had been long. Good catches and empty nets, laughter and quiet arguments, all of it passing like the seasons. A sudden wind came from the north. The boat tipped slightly. Haru adjusted his weight. The waves grew choppy. Whitecaps appeared. He pulled in the net early. Fewer fish this time. The rope cut into his palms. The ache in his back flared with each pull. He rowed toward shore. The current fought him. His arms tired. Sweat ran into his eyes. The sun lowered, turning the sea to fire. The cliffs cast long shadows. The night that asks for nothing approached from the east. He reached the bay as darkness gathered. The boat scraped the pebbles again. Haru dragged it higher on the shore. His legs felt heavy. The ache had spread to his hips. He carried the baskets to the drying racks. The fish hung in rows. Their scales caught the last light. Villagers called greetings. He nodded in return. His voice was hoarse from the salt air. At his house, his wife had prepared tea. The small room smelled of smoke and fish. They sat on the floor. The mats were worn thin. He drank the tea slowly. It warmed his hands. The ache settled into a steady presence. That night, sleep did not come easy. Haru lay on the thin bedding. The sound of the sea reached through the walls. Waves rolled and broke. His back pressed against the floor. The pain kept him turning. His wife breathed softly beside him. Her presence was familiar, yet he knew one day it might not be there. The thought came and stayed. The children had grown and moved to other villages. The house felt larger now, emptier. He stared at the ceiling beams. Shadows moved with the lantern light. Everything in the room had been touched by time. The wood showed cracks. The cloth on the walls had faded. The next days followed the same pattern. Haru went to the sea, he rowed, he cast the net, he waited. Some days brought good catches. The baskets filled heavy. Other days the sea gave little. He returned with empty hands. The ache in his back grew with the empty days. It made the rowing harder. His son came once to help. The young man rowed strong. His strokes cut clean through the water. Haru watched him. The boy reminded him of his own youth. Strong back, quick hands, no pain yet. They spoke little on the water. The sea demanded attention. One evening, a storm threatened. Dark clouds gathered over the horizon. The wind picked up. Villagers hurried to secure the boats. Haru worked with them. Ropes pulled tight in his hands. The ache burned. Rain began to fall, cold and hard. It soaked his clothes. The ground turned to mud under his feet. He pushed his boat higher. The waves crashed louder. That night the storm hit full. The house shook. Rain drummed on the roof. Haru lay awake. His wife held his hand. Her fingers were thin. The sea roared outside. Everything felt uncertain. The boat might break. The houses might flood. But morning would come. Or it would not. The breath that moved on its own continued even in the noise. The storm passed by dawn. The bay lay calm again. Debris covered the shore, broken branches, seaweed in thick piles. Haru walked the beach. His feet sank into wet sand. The ache was constant now. He picked up what he could. The villagers worked together. No one spoke much. The sun returned. It dried the wood. The sea smoothed its surface. Fish returned to the shallows. Life continued.
Haru felt the change in his body more clearly these days. The mornings were stiffer, the evenings longer. He sat on the rocks after fishing. The stone was cool against his legs. Waves washed over his feet. The water numbed the skin. He watched the horizon. Ships passed far out sometimes, strangers from other lands. Their sails caught the wind and disappeared. Everything came and went. The fish, the storms, the years. His wife grew quieter. She spent more time by the small shrine in the house. Incense smoke rose thin. She spoke of the old days. Haru listened. Her voice carried the same salt air as the sea. They had built this life together. Now it was changing. The children sent messages from afar, grandchildren they had never seen. The village itself shifted. New houses built higher after floods, old ones repaired or left empty. Haru felt it all in his bones. The central situation had settled around him, the sea that gave life and took it, the body that worked and tired, the days that flowed one into another without stopping.
He was here in the fishing village, breathing with the tides, the ache steady in his back, the night approaching again, still here, still breathing. The night that asks for nothing waited beyond the waves. The seasons continued their slow turn around the bay. Haru rowed out each morning, his boat cutting through the water with the same steady rhythm it always had. The ache in his back had become a constant companion now, rising with the pull of the oars and settling deeper when he rested on the shore. He no longer fought it. He let it be there, like the salt on his skin or the call of the gulls overhead. The nets felt heavier in his hands some days. The fish came in smaller numbers. He sorted them carefully, throwing many back, watching them flash silver as they returned to the deep. His wife spent longer hours by the shrine. The incense burned slower in the still air of the house. Her steps grew shorter when she walked to the water's edge to meet him. They sat together in the evenings, the lantern light soft on their faces. Words came less often. They listened instead to the sea outside, its endless rise and fall. One evening, she took his hand. Her fingers were cool and light. They stayed like that until the lantern burned low. Haru felt the years in that touch. The life they had shared, full of nets mended and meals eaten in silence, was changing shape. He did not speak of it. He simply held her hand until she slept. The village changed around them too. Some houses stood empty where elders had passed. New families arrived, their children running on the pebbles with loud voices. Haru watched them from the rocks. Their energy reminded him of waves crashing fresh each time. His own energy flowed quieter now, like the tide pulling back from the shore. He repaired his nets with slower hands. The twine slipped sometimes through his fingers. The ache moved up into his shoulders as he worked. He paused often, looking out at the horizon where the sea met the sky in a thin line that never stayed the same. One calm afternoon, Haru rowed out alone farther than usual. The water lay flat and shining. The boat drifted with little effort. He cast the net and sat back. The sun warmed his face. Small ripples moved across the surface, catching light like scattered coins. He closed his eyes for a time. The rocking of the boat eased the ache in his back. The breath that moved on its own came slow and deep. Memories rose without hurry. His father teaching him to read the currents. His wife young and laughing on their wedding day. His son taking his first catch home with pride. Each memory came clear, then faded like mist over the water. He did not hold them. They passed through him as the sea passed beneath the hull. When he pulled the net later, it held only a few small fish. He kept one for their meal and released the rest. The fish slipped from his hands back into the cool dark.
He rowed toward shore as the light began to soften. The cliffs glowed warm orange. The village roofs caught the last rays. His wife waited on the beach as she sometimes did. She waved once, a small gesture. Haru brought the boat in. The hull scraped the pebbles. He helped her carry the basket. Their steps matched in slowness. The ache in his body felt shared in that walk. That night, the sea was quiet. They ate the fish with rice. The taste was simple and good. Afterward, they sat outside on the wooden platform. Stars appeared one by one overhead. The waves whispered against the shore. Haru felt the wood beneath him, worn smooth by many nights like this. His wife's head rested lightly on his shoulder. Her breathing grew even. He stayed still, letting the night cover them.
The ache remained, but it no longer demanded attention. It simply existed alongside the stars and the sea. Weeks passed in this gentle rhythm. Haru went out less often. Some mornings he stayed on the shore, mending what needed mending. The younger fishermen brought him small gifts of their catch. He accepted them with quiet thanks. His hands worked the ropes, slower but steady. The calluses had softened in places. The tattoo on his wrist had faded with time. Everything showed the marks of passing years. The village children played near him sometimes. Their laughter mixed with the gulls. He watched them without envy. Their time would come, as his had. One evening, a strong wind rose without warning. The sea grew restless. Haru and the others secured the boats higher on the beach. Ropes pulled tight. The ache fled sharp in his back as he worked. Rain began to fall, soft at first, then heavier. He returned to the house, soaked. His wife had prepared hot tea. They drank it together, the warmth spreading through his chest. The storm passed by morning. The bay lay calm again. Debris lined the shore. Haru walked it slowly, picking up what the sea had left. Shells, pieces of wood, a lost float from some net. Each thing had its story, then lost it to the waves. His wife grew weaker as the months turned. She stayed inside more. Haru sat with her often. They spoke of small things, the taste of the tea, the sound of the children, the way the light changed on the water. One quiet afternoon, she smiled at him. Her eyes held the sea in them. He held her hand. The skin was paper thin. The breath that moved on its own slowed in the room. He stayed long after she slept. The lantern burned low. Shadows lengthened on the walls. Outside, the tide turned once more. The end came on a still morning. Haru woke to find her gone. Her face was peaceful. The ache in his own body felt distant. He sat beside her for a long time. The house held their shared silence. Villagers came quietly. They helped with the simple rites. Haru walked with them to the small burial ground above the bay. The earth was cool under his hands as they covered the grave. He placed a smooth stone on top. It fit his palm for a moment, then stayed. The sea stretched wide below. Waves moved in their endless pattern. Gulls cried overhead. Haru stood until the others left. The wind touched his face. The ache remained. The light changed slowly across the water. He returned to the house alone. The rooms felt larger. He sat on the platform outside. The sun set in its usual place. Colors spread across the sky, then faded. Night arrived soft. He lay down inside. The bedding held her absence. Sleep came in pieces. The sea sounded steady through the walls. Morning followed. Haru rose. He made tea for one. The taste was the same.
He went to the shore. The boat waited. He pushed it into the water. His legs felt the cold. The oars moved in his hands. The ache rose with each stroke. The boat slipped out past the headland. The village grew small behind him. He fished that day as he always had. The net went over the side. He waited. The sun climbed. The water rocked him. A few fish came. He kept what he needed and released the rest. The breath that moved on its own kept him steady. The ache filled his back and shoulders. He did not fight it. He rowed back as evening approached. The cliffs caught the last light. He dragged the boat up. The pebbles shifted under his feet. He carried the small catch home. The house was quiet. He ate alone. The night that asks for nothing covered the bay. Days became weeks. Haru continued. Some mornings the ache kept him on shore. He sat on the rocks and watched the younger men row out.
Their boats cut clean lines through the water. He mended nets. He spoke little. The villagers left him to his silence. The sea gave what it gave. He accepted it. One clear night he sat outside again. Stars filled the sky. The waves whispered. He felt the wood beneath him, the cool air on his skin. The ache was there, the emptiness was there. Both passed through him like the tide. He stayed until the stars began to fade. Then he went inside. The house held him as it always had. Time flowed on. Haru's steps grew slower on the shore. His hands trembled more when he held the oars. Yet he went out when he could. The boat knew his weight. The sea knew his presence. One final morning, he pushed the boat into the water. The cold touched his legs. The ache filled him completely. He rowed a short distance. The bay lay peaceful. He cast the net one last time. It sank into the deep. He sat back. The sun rose warm on his face. The boat rocked gently.
The breath that moved on its own slowed. The water shone around him. A single wave lapped the hull. The image held there. The old fisherman alone on the sea, the net drifting below, the light steady on the water, everything passing into stillness. The feeling the story leaves is a quiet one. It rests in the chest like the slow breath after a long day. You may notice it now as you lie there, a softness that comes without effort, the body heavy on the bed, the night around you vast and accepting. This feeling needs no words. It simply is. Let it stay. Let your shoulders settle deeper. The hands that finally opened rest where they are. The ache you carry in your own life, whatever shape it takes tonight, can rest here too. The sea in the story moves on. Your own breath moves on. Nothing forces it. Nothing stops it. You are here in this moment. The room holds you. The darkness covers every small trouble. The story's quiet lingers, not as something to remember, but as something that eases the holding in the body. The legs grow heavier. The jaw loosens. The night that asks for nothing surrounds you completely. Rest inside this feeling. It asks nothing from you. The breath that moves on its own continues its gentle work. Still here, still breathing. The quiet stays with you as the night deepens. You are here, right now. The body lies on the bed. Feel its weight. The back presses down. The legs
sink into the surface, shoulders loose, arms at rest. The night wraps around you. No rush, no need to move. The breath comes in, it leaves again, slow. The chest rises, the belly softens. This is what is happening. Nothing more, nothing less. The forehead smooths, the eyes rest behind closed lids, heavy. The jaw hangs easy, no grip. The hands lie open or curled, they need nothing. The feet rest at the end of the legs, cool or warm, it does not matter. The whole body settles, deeper with each breath. The mind may wander, let it. It will slow too. The night holds every part. The heaviness grows gentle, the quiet spreads. From the head down through the neck, into the shoulders, the arms, the hands. Still here, still breathing. The chest moves soft, the belly follows, no effort. The hips rest, the legs feel the bed, the feet sink, everything slows. The body knows how to do this. It has done it many nights. The breath that moves on its own continues. In, out. The room stays dark. The air touches the skin. Quiet. The night that asks for nothing lets you rest. Deeper now. The thoughts come slower. The feelings sit lighter. The body grows still. This is enough. The hands that finally opened. The weight of the legs. The softening in the back. All of it here. All of it passing moment by moment. You have carried the weight of holding on. When you do not see that everything passes, the cost is heavy. The mind fights change. It clings to what was. The body tightens, shoulders rise, chest closes, sleep leaves. Days fill with worry, nights grow long. You replay old words, you fear what comes next. The hands close tight, the breath shortens. This holding steals peace. It makes small things large. A grey hair, an empty chair, a tired limb. They feel like enemies. The heart works harder. The mind races. Life narrows. You miss the simple moments. The taste of water. The warmth of sun on skin. The quiet of a room like this. The cost shows in the body. Aches stay longer. Rest comes harder. The face holds lines from constant strain. You push against time. You try to keep people, to keep strength, to keep things as they were. But the sea takes the boat. The mountain wears down. The friend leaves. The fight inside grows. It tires you. It separates you from the flow. You stand against the current. The water pushes back. The body pays. The mind pays. Nights like tonight feel heavier than they need to. When you begin to see, something else opens. The grip loosens. The shoulders drop. The chest expands. Breath moves freer. You meet the day with less fight. Change comes. You watch it. A plant withers. You plant another. A person leaves. You remember the time shared. The body softens.
Sleep arrives easier. The mind rests more. Small joys return. The light on the wall, the sound of wind, the feel of hands at rest. Life widens again. You walk with the current, not against it. The aches remain, but they do not rule. The night feels kinder. The dark holds you without demand. Deeper still. When understanding grows, fear of loss changes shape. It does not vanish. It becomes quieter. You love more fully because you know the time is not forever. You speak kinder words. You hold lighter.
The hands that finally opened stay open longer. The breath that moves on its own teaches trust. Each inhale brings what is new. Each exhale releases what has passed. No need to store everything. The body learns rest. The mind learns space. Even in pain, there is room. Even in grief, there is breath underneath. What becomes possible is simple presence. You sit with what is, the tired back, the quiet room, the memory that rises and falls. No war inside. The night shows this. It changes from dark to light without effort. Your life can follow. Tasks done with attention, rest taken without guilt, people met without clinging. Everything passes. This knowing frees small spaces. A smile comes easier. A tear dries faster. The ordinary day holds more. Not because it lasts, because you see it clearly. The cost of not seeing is a life half-lived, always preparing, always guarding. The possible way is lighter. You move through days. You rest in nights. The body does its work. The mind does not fight it. Tonight, in this bed, you taste that possibility. The heaviness in the legs, the slow breath, the quiet that spreads. Let it teach you. No force needed. Just this lying here. The night that asks for nothing. Shorter thoughts now, space between them, the forehead soft, the jaw loose. Feel it, the resistance you carry. It costs rest. Letting it be, it gives rest. The stories of change, they all point here. The monk on the mountain, the fisherman on the sea. Their bodies tired, their minds eased. Yours can too, in this moment. The breath that moves on its own, still here, still breathing. What this costs when unseen. Years of tension, missed sunsets, words left unsaid, strength wasted on holding sand. What becomes possible? Gentle mornings, quiet evenings, love without chains, rest without guilt. The body opens, the heart opens. The night holds both. You do not need to choose perfectly. You only need to notice. The weight on the bed, the air on the skin, the passing of one breath, deeper. The fear of endings, it tightens the throat, it clouds the eyes. When you see, the fear sits beside you, not against you. The body relaxes around it. Sleep comes, morning comes. The same for joy. It arrives, it leaves. You feel it full, Then let it go. No storing, no chasing. This is freedom in small measure, enough for one night, enough for this breath. Permission now, full permission. You do not need to understand all of this, not tonight, not ever completely. Let the words drift, let the body rest. Permission to simply lie here. Permission to let the mind wander. Permission to feel the heaviness without fixing it. Tonight is enough. This breath is enough. The night that asks for nothing gives this freely. Take it. The hands that finally opened need do nothing more. The legs heavy, the chest soft. Still here, still breathing. The quiet returns. Shorter sentences, more space. The body knows, the night knows. Everything passes. You rest inside it. No more needed. The breath moves. In, out. This is the teaching. Simple. Here. Yours. Let it be. The night holds everything. You are safe. Rest now. The hands that finally opened. The breath that moves on its own. The night that asks for nothing. Still here, still breathing. In a small valley in old Korea, where a clear river wound between low hills, an old gardener named Min worked the soil at the end of the day. The sun had slipped behind the western ridge. Light turned soft and golden across the fields. Min knelt between the rows of vegetables, his knees pressed into the cool earth. His hands moved slow, pulling a few last weeds. The roots came up with soft sounds. Dark soil clung to his fingers. He brushed it gently back into place. The leaves of the cabbages brushed his wrists. They felt crisp and alive. The air carried the scent of damp ground and ripening squash. A light breeze moved through the plants. It touched his face. His robe hung loose on his thin frame. Years of bending and lifting had curved his back. His hair was white and thin. A small scar marked one cheek from a fall long ago. He did not hurry. The day had been long. Now it eased toward its close. The river nearby flowed steady, its sound mixed with the rustle of leaves. Min sat back on his heels. He looked at the rows. Some plants stood tall, others showed yellow at the edges. All of them grew and changed in their time. He rose slowly. His joints spoke with small clicks. He walked to the edge of the garden. A wooden bucket waited there. He filled it with water from the stream that fed the plots. The water felt cold against his hands. It splashed over the rim as he carried it back. He poured it at the base of the thirsty plants. The soil drank it in. Dark patches spread. He moved from one to the next. Each pour took time. The breath that moved on its own matched his steps. In, out. The light grew dimmer. Shadows lengthened across the ground. A single bird called from a tree at the garden's edge. Its song was short and clear. Min paused to listen. The bird flew off. The sound faded into the evening air. He continued watering. His hands worked without thought. The calluses on his palms had formed over decades. They felt the rough handle of the bucket. The weight pulled at his arms. He set the bucket down and rested. The river flowed on. Its surface caught the last light. Ripples moved across it like slow breaths. Min walked the narrow path between the hills. His feet knew every stone. The path led toward a small hut near the riverbank. Smoke rose from its chimney. Inside, an old teacher sat with his student. The room was simple. A low table held 2 bowls of rice and pickled vegetables. The teacher was older than Min. His eyes looked half closed. The student, a young man with smooth hands, sat across from him. They ate in silence. Chopsticks clicked softly against the bowls. No words passed. The light from a small oil lamp flickered on the walls. Outside, the river kept its constant voice. The student lifted his bowl. He chewed slowly. The teacher did the same. Their eyes met once. A small nod, nothing more. The meal continued. The taste of the rice was plain and warm. The vegetables carried the sharp bite of salt. Time stretched in the room. The lamp flame danced. Shadows moved across the floor. The student finished first. He set his bowl down. The teacher ate a few more bites. Then he too set his bowl aside. They sat together. The silence grew deeper. The river sound came through the open door. Min reached the hut as full dusk settled. He did not enter. He sat on the wooden step outside. His legs stretched toward the river. The night air cooled his skin. The ache in his back eased as he rested. Stars began to appear overhead, one by one. The teacher and student remained inside. Their presence felt through the quiet. No need for greeting. Min watched the river. Water moved over smooth stones. It caught faint light from the sky. The current never stopped, yet the river stayed the same. Leaves fell from a tree near the path. One drifted down and landed on Min's knee. He left it there. Its edges curled slightly. The color had turned deep red. He felt its lightness. The breeze came again. It lifted another leaf from the branch. It spun slow in the air before touching the ground. Min breathed with the movement. The hands that finally opened rested on his thighs. The night that asks for nothing covered the valley. The teacher inside coughed once, soft. The student poured tea. The sound of liquid filled the cups. Time passed. The lamp inside burned lower. Min stood after a while. He walked to the river's edge. His bare feet touched the cool grass, then the pebbles. The water lapped at his toes, cold and clear. He knelt and washed his hands. The soil washed away into the flow. He splashed water on his face. Drops ran down his neck. The ache in his body felt distant now. The river carried small sounds. A fish jumped once. The splash broke the surface, then vanished. Ripples spread and smoothed. He returned to the step. The teacher and student had come outside. They sat together without speaking. The 3 men breathed the same air. The valley held them. Hills rose dark on both sides. The river wound between. Min felt the wooden step under him, solid, worn from many nights. The young student shifted once. His robe rustled. The old teacher remained still. His hands lay in his lap. The night deepened. Stars multiplied. The air grew colder. No one moved to go inside. A faint mist rose from the river. It drifted across the ground in thin layers. It touched the garden plots. The plants stood quiet under it. Min watched the mist move. It changed shape as it went. The breath that moved on its own continued. His chest rose and fell. The others breathed beside him. The silence stretched long, comfortable. The river kept flowing. Its sound never paused. Yet each moment of water was new.
Leaves continued to fall. One landed near the teacher's foot. He did not brush it away. The student looked at it. His eyes followed the veins on the leaf. The old teacher closed his eyes. His face softened. Min sat with his own eyes open. He saw the mist thicken slightly. It wrapped around their legs. The cold touched his skin. He did not shiver. The night held the warmth of the day still in the earth. Hours slipped by. The lamp inside had gone out. The valley lay in full dark. The three figures sat on the step. Their bodies rested. The river sang its low song. A small animal moved in the underbrush. Leaves rustled, then quiet again. Min felt the weight of his own hands, the skin loose over the bones. The student breathed deeper. Sleep pulled at him. The teacher remained upright, his presence steady as the hills. The mist grew thicker. It blurred the lines of the garden. The river became a faint sound more than a sight. Min closed his eyes for a time. Images came slow. The rows of plants, the bucket of water, the falling leaf. They passed through his mind like the mist. He opened his eyes again. The night had not changed. The men sat together, still here, still breathing. The hands that finally opened stayed open. The river flowed on, water over stones. The valley held the quiet. No end to the scene, only the slow turning of night. The breath of the three men mixing with the air. The plants resting in the garden. The leaves settling on the ground. The mist drifting. Everything in its place for this moment. The night that asks for nothing. The river continuing its way. The bodies at rest. The silence full and kind. The scene stayed. It breathed. It softened at the edges. It dissolved into the dark without hurry. Still here, still breathing. You lie here. The body rests on the bed. The forehead smooths now, soft. The eyes rest heavy behind the lids. No need to open them. The night covers everything. The jaw loosens. It hangs easy. The neck settles. Shoulders drop. They sink into the surface. The arms rest beside you, heavy. The hands lie open. The hands that finally opened. They need nothing. The chest rises. It falls. The breath that moves on its own. In, out, slow. The belly softens. It moves gentle with each breath. The hips rest. They press down. The legs grow heavier. Thighs, knees, calves all sinking. The feet lie still at the end, warm or cool, it does not matter. The whole body settles deeper. The night holds you, the night that asks for nothing. Still here, still breathing. A mist drifts across the mind. It touches the garden rose. It dissolves. The river flows near. Its sound fades. The boat rocks on the water. It passes. The mountain path waits. It softens. Everything arises. Everything passes. The breath continues. The chest, the belly, simple, here. The forehead smooth again, the eyes heavy, the jaw loose.
Shoulders down, arms resting, hands open. The hands that finally opened. Chest soft, belly soft, hips heavy, legs sinking, feet still. The body knows. The night holds it all. Still here, still breathing. The pine stands quiet. Its bark presses. It fades. The sea laps the pebbles. The waves smooth. They pass. The river carries leaves. They drift. The mist rises from the water. It wraps the valley. It thins. The breath that moves on its own stays close. In this room. In this bed. Now. The forehead. Smooth. The eyes. Heavy. The jaw. Loose. Shoulders down. Arms resting. Hands open. Chest rising, falling. Belly soft. Hips heavy. Legs sinking. Feet still. The night that asks for nothing. Still here, still breathing. A leaf falls. It lands. It rests. The net sinks into the deep. Fish flash. They return. The bucket pours water. The soil drinks. It changes. The monk sits by the window. The light touches his face. It moves on. All of it arises. All of it passes. The body lies here, heavy, safe. The forehead smooths. Eyes rest. Jaw loosens. Shoulders settle. Arms heavy. Hands open. The hands that finally opened. Chest moves. Belly softens. Hips press. Legs sink. Feet rest. The breath that moves on its own. Slow. Steady. The night holds everything. The mountain mist lifts. The valley clears. It returns. The sea calms after storm. The boat drifts. The garden plants drink rain. They yellow at the edges. They grow. The teacher and student sit, silence between them. The gardener kneels, his hands in soil. All arise, all dissolve. Here, now. Your breath, the forehead, smooth. Eyes, heavy. Jaw, loose. Shoulders, down. Arms, rest. Hands, open. Chest, soft. Belly, soft. Hips, heavy. Legs, sinking. Feet, still. Still here, still breathing. The night that asks for nothing. A single bird calls. The sound fades. The wave laps the hull. It passes. The river sings over stones. It continues. The pine stands. Its needles fall. The light on the mountain peaks shifts. Dawn waits. But not yet. The body rests. The room dark. The breath. In, out. The forehead smooth. The eyes heavy. The jaw loose. Shoulders drop. Arms rest. Hands open. Chest rises and falls, belly soft, hips heavy, legs sink, feet still. The hands that finally opened, the breath that moves on its own, the night that asks for nothing. Images come, a twisted branch, a fishing net, a wooden step. They stay a moment, they leave. The body does not hold them, the mind does not chase. The night covers them, gentle, complete. Your legs feel the bed, heavy. The back presses down, safe. The breath continues. The forehead, eyes, jaw, shoulders, arms, hands, chest, belly, hips, legs, feet. All here, all resting, still here, still breathing. The night holds everything, every worry, every question, every small grief. It asks for nothing in return, only this breath, and this one, and